Slouching is costing your restaurant millions. Body language is one of the most important factors people often miss, restaurant owners especially, when they're walking into a place. They don't understand how it impacts the revenue that the restaurant is making, the way the culture of the company is being set, and how your guests are interacting with your team. My name is Michael Caceres. I'm one of the principals here at Rail Trail Flatbread Company, New City Micro Creamery. We have about 8 locations and near 500 employees, and we're obsessed with hospitality. I'm going to teach you today why body language is one of the most important factors you're missing when evaluating the performance of your restaurant. So we as hospitality individuals, what's our goal? One of our goals is not just making money. One of our goals, if you think about it, is getting a feeling to be conveyed to our guests, right? That feeling is something that's really important. That feeling of comfort, of security, of stability, all that is what's leading your guests to feel really comfortable in a safe space, and they get to enjoy, they get to let go, right? That feeling that you had when you were a little kid, that comes from that memory, if you look back, was usually around an adult, a loved one, a family member, a place where you really felt safe, you really felt in control, and you really felt like whatever was going to happen in the world, you were really safe there. You could really be yourself, right? And that's kind of a feeling we're trying to convey to the guests every single time they come in. And it's important because when you first walk into a restaurant, the body language of that team is what our minds are perceiving right away. Before they look at the menu, before they hear the music, before they check out how cool and stylish your restaurant looks, they're looking at the people and they're wondering, okay, are those people ready? Are they looking at me? Are they making eye contact? Are they smiling? Are they ready to go? Do they feel ready? Do they feel rushed? Right? All those data points are leading to that feeling of how you feel about yourself in that moment when you're walking into the restaurant. So we as hospitality individuals want to get the guests there as soon as possible, want them to feel like they're in a safe, clean space, a place that people are there to take care of them, a place where they can feel loved and cared for. And really the first line of business is the body language, right? So to me, body language is this thing, I often talk about little icebergs in your business. Icebergs to me, I'll talk about them more in another time, but icebergs are little quick pieces of data you can take a look at and see a big part of what's going on behind the scenes, right? As owners, as managers, we often have to dig deep into the numbers, and that's super important. You dig deep into specific issues, logbooks, all that stuff, but really a quick and easy way to figure out how things are going is looking at body language, walking into a place and seeing how people are performing, what's going on, right? What's that feeling you're getting? And that's the iceberg. That tells you how is the culture? How is the knowledge that's being disseminated across your organization? How do people feel when they're coming to work that day? How engaged are they, right? And engagement with your team is super important for so many different reasons, right? Looking at the body language, you're usually able to see who are the engaged employees and who are the disengaged employees. Engaged employees, they're smiling, they're ready, their reaction time's there, they're ready to go. They've prepared themselves way in advance of coming to work, right? They're looking sharp, their clothes are put together, they're clean, their shoes are clean, their haircut's ready, right? And a disengaged employee, usually the other way around, right? They're not looking at the guests, they're looking away, they're not looking at what they're supposed to be looking at. They're slouching, they're making the people around them feel uncomfortable. They might not be ready physically, their clothes might be dirtier, they might not be ready when they came to work, they rushed on the way to work, right? They're mentally not ready, they're not prepared, they're emotionally not prepared. All that stuff manifests itself through the body language of that team. So we got to pick up on those things, right? And ultimately conveying all this stuff and training your team to have great body language goes back to knowledge. And knowledge is super important because knowledge together with experience, taking that knowledge, implementing it into practice, putting it into work, knowledge and experience creates confidence. And confidence goes back to that original feeling we talked about when we were kids of that safety, that controlled environment, that stability. We want all of our employees to give that confidence. They want to exude that confidence. They're not going to feel confident if they're not put together. they're not going to feel great about themselves if they don't know what they're doing, why they're doing it. They're not going to know how to talk about a specific dish or an effort that the restaurant's doing in the community if they don't have that information. So they need to have that information, and more importantly, you need to find opportunities for them to really practice that information out in the real world, right? Have that experience. We do that through role playing. We do that from just training and shadowing. And we do that from writing great, dense material for people to study before they even show up to work. So all that stuff leads to confidence. The confidence allows the guest to really feel safe, right? And ultimately, when they're feeling safe, they're focusing on the friends they came to dinner with. They're canceling out the stresses of the outside world. They're focusing in on enjoying the dish that you painstakingly took to make. And they're focusing in on other stuff. They're focusing in on what there should be there for, which is to take time and let someone else do the work. Let someone else take care of them tonight. That's what we're trying to do, right? Ultimately, that's going to create the feeling of comfort, safety, love, and trust. And if you get your guests to trust you, then ultimately you're giving them something that really your competitors can't compete with. You're giving an emotion, not a product. You're giving an emotion and not a service. And really, how many of us would trade whatever money we had in our pocket that moment to go back to that safe space when we were a kid, sitting down with your grandpa or grandma, having an ice cream cone at your favorite ice cream place, or having a sandwich with your mom when you came home from school. All those feelings are something we really desperately want to convey, and that's how we win the game, right? So if we do that, ultimately our guests will trust us. If they trust us, they're going to be repeat loyal guests, and ultimately that will affect your revenue. That'll make sure you're conveying what the standards are. People will be more engaged. Those around the employees that are engaged will want to be more engaged. They'll want to be more prepared, and ultimately that just trickles down to the way your guests interact with your company and your service. So I hope this helps today. We can talk a lot more about culture, but really body language is something you shouldn't ignore, and I hope you take it back into your restaurants and have some changes. Take the time to walk into your space every single day and take a test. Take a little sample of what you feel like from the body language of the people around you. Don't accept bad body language. It's not how people should be. It's not the way that person is. Everyone can do a better job of having better body language, okay? And you as a leader in your restaurant need to make sure that that's happening.